Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Toy Story 2 for the PlayStation/PS1 for short, and for the Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, PC, and the 2D side-scrolling platformer for the Game Boy Color. So, last time we have managed to able to 100% through everything in Construction Yard. So today for this episode, oh yeah, and also despite the fact that we actually did manage to beat the likes of the next boss, which appears to be Jack Hammer, so even then I was want to point things out. So, yeah, anyway, today for this episode, and that was the fact that we're going to be moving on to the 5th level in this game, which appears to be Alleys and Gullies, which is, to me, though, this is probably one of my second least favorite levels in the whole entire game. I mean, you can definitely know why until whenever we get to it at some form or another. Although, don't get me wrong, this level is okay, but this is not my kind of favorite level in the whole entire experience. But, regardless of everything else, though, we'll still need to play it as long as we can able to actually gather the amounts of those Pizza Planet tokens as possible. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that point. So yeah, today's day is the forms of the 20th of November today in 2019. And we're actually getting pretty close towards the end of November, so to speak. So even then though, I just want to classify for something right away, is the fact that there's a little bit of brief updates for this point in time. For instance, for example, I think during next Monday, and especially noticeable on next Wednesday and Friday, I'll let Mario get back onto Super Mario Odyssey for Luigi's Bloom World, just because, well, at this point in time, is the fact that we need to get those Let's Plays finished until, you know, the new year is about to start. So even then, because we keep on about it, especially after for about a couple of days ago, so we'll definitely say this right now, that, we'll definitely make it happen when it comes to the forms of other Let's Plays needs to be finished in time, and then eventually at this point, that's, well, we'll just have to able to actually just hurry things up, because after all, that's about usually about that time is the fact that during tomorrow, that Sonic is definitely going to be finishing up with his Let's Play of Wario World tomorrow, and after all that stuff, I'm about to be focusing on, you know, back onto Toy Story 2, and once I'm done with Toy Story 2, then we'll let Sonic and Sylvester try to able to continue things on with their Let's Play of Mario Kart 8/Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, despite the fact that they've pretty much at the halfway point for the actual progression when it comes to the forms of the recording sessions on that particular game and stuff like that. And also that, you know, I'll let Mario get back onto Super Mario Odyssey next Monday. And eventually at this point that Sonic will definitely need to wrap things up with Kingdom Hearts Final Mix before we move on to the next Kingdom Hearts game or something like that. So, but you know, you get the idea. So yeah, as you can see right there, we actually did manage to come across into one of those challenges, as you can see right there, where basically we need to collect some stuff again, except this time we need to collect those bones, as opposed to those wretches from the likes of Construction Yard. And usually this is by far the most easiest collect-a-thon timer missions in the whole entire game, because for one thing, they stand in one particular place, or they're usually there in one particular location, so they don't like spread out or anything like that, you know, just like the forms of Construction Yard. And second is the fact that it's actually pretty easy to obtain those if you manage to able to try to deal with your, you know, your double jumps or what have you, which I think is actually pretty cool in theory. But either way though, it makes it a little bit of an easier side of things, because even then, if you really want to go ahead and gather the rest of the collectibles, then more power to you, because even then, that way you can able to instantly grab those during time. So, anyway though, a few things I want to explain about this actually is the fact that, well, I already mentioned about the forms of the actual Let's Play schedules needs to be finished and done with, because after all, we're actually getting, you know, almost pretty much close towards the end of November until, more accurately, 11 days time. So hopefully we've still got enough time for the actual uploading schedules for that point. Well, despite with the forms of the Wi-Fi issues for that time. Well, in certain days anyway though. Not all the time, but just most of the time. But anyway, recently I managed to able to pick up quite a few things worth mentioning for today. And that is the forms of, well, there's only like one particular item I managed to pick up, which is of course another of those Nintendo eShop cards, which this time I actually got myself £15 for it. And what do I spend it on this time around? Well, I managed to able to pick up the forms of the digital download versions of both Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission for both on the Game Boy Advance on the Wii U eShop downloads, because I figure that we might actually do something completely different when it comes to the forms of other Let's Plays department, because after all, we've already done one particular Zelda Let's Play ever since in 2018, which is last year, and I figure until next year or something like that, spoiler warning for those of you who want to able to notice what's going to come up, I figure we might actually do a Metroid Let's Play or something like that. Like, for instance, starting things up with the original game on the NES, of course, and then next thing you notice is that we'll move on to, I don't know, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, possibly, or even especially noticeable with the forms of Super Metroid, or even just Metroid Fusion, or anything like that. So, because I figure we might as well able to do that, and I figure we might as well able to do a Metroid Marathon or something like that during next year or something. But then again, it really depending on the forms of other schedules worth noting for, such as the forms of, although there hasn't been that much in terms of Sonic Let's Plays for that department, well, apart from the fact that we've only just done about 2 of them, or technically 3, if you really want to count for, you know, for another half of, you know, for the actual Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed Let's Play and stuff like that, as well as, the majority of Shadow the Hedgehog, and as well as the forms of the redo Let's Play of Sonic Lost World, specifically on the Wii U version. But I really don't know about if we can able to do a redo Let's Play of the 3DS version of Sonic Lost World, just because, well, that version of the game sucks. But anyway, yeah, because what if I finally managed to get into, like, downloading those two Metroid games together? That we'll definitely go ahead and say that right now. We'll figure we might actually go and do a Metroid series of Let's Plays during that time, which I think it might actually. Oh no! Ah, I hate when I just managed to get myself shoved over for a moment ago. But anyway, though, yeah, definitely it will make it happen and during at some point next year. Oh, of course, that we need to able to get back into the Kirby series of Let's Plays here and there too. But hopefully by that time, the exactly the same year time as the forms of how it does it in, specifically the Metroid, Marathon or something like that. So even then, though, that we'll do a duologies of marathons we're going to be doing alongside with the others too, such as the forms of, well, Kirby Marathon Part 2 after the absence of during this year, and also the actual Metroid Marathon. So even then, that, you know, starting from the original Metroid for the NES, and probably we might actually mainly focusing on the 2D ones. Well, we'll get to the 3D ones during at some point in the future though, at least depending on the forms of the actual release date for, you know, Metroid Prime 4 in the future. So even then, we'll mainly gonna be focusing on the 2D Metroid stuff first, and then the 3D Metroid Prime games during at some point in the future, because as far as I'm aware, the Metroid Prime series is actually the biggest games in terms of the forms of the Metroid series, which I appreciate, because even then, that I noticed that some people seem to really enjoy those games basically because of you know, 3D exploration type of gameplay, and you know, most of your time that you were able to do so much of it for its time. So anyways, let's go ahead and grab some more coins here. So just in case we can able to actually take on the forms of, although at this point in time, might actually be the only level, alongside with the next level after level 6 or something like that, that we might actually going to be skipping over for those, well, for some certain objectives, because as you can tell, I'm actually going to be doing 3 missions in this particular stage, because we've already done one of them, which is basically a timed challenge of all sorts, and the second one we've already done is the actual obstacle challenge or something like that. And the third mission, which I was going to be doing right now, it appears to be by the forms of, like the usual stages from the past, that we need to once again grab 50 of those coins and deliver them to Ham. And then, when I'm done with that, then I can leave the level, but until then, we'll come back into that level at some point in the future, unless if we're able to grab one of the power-ups, you see, because by the time whenever we get to the Duckling missions as well as the next boss, Unfortunately, though, we can't able to do those right now because there was actually that one power-up that we do need to get throughout. But even then, we'll find out during a few parts later or in certain days or whatever. But even then, though, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So anyways, let's go ahead and save our game right here. So at the moment right now, I think we actually got about 18 of those tokens so far, which, kind of think about it, we're almost at the halfway point of that certain amount. So anyways, now let's move on to the next level, which appears to be Slime Time. Or, in this case for this matter though, the second main boss in the whole entire game. So even then, it kind of reminds me like a chaos form of Sonic Adventure, but except he's not blue or anything, instead it was just green, and plus because it's all made out of slime. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for this little parts right there. Especially that after all, about the fact that the actual weather on this stage, alongside with the previous stage that we've already done, is actually entirely raining weather, which, even then, that was pretty cool though. But anyways, so yeah, the entire portion of this boss battle is that we need to keep on just rapidly shooting the laser button and hope for the best, because if you somehow keep on doing that, well, basically this allows the actual slime will able to actually start shrinking a bit. Then every once in a while though, if you move on to this next phases or anything like that, it starts to get a little bit bigger and plus a little bit aggressive, especially with the very annoying jump attack that he always trying to use. Because sometimes if I was standing in one place, the next thing you notice is the fact that one of those, you know, that green slime boss will attempt to able to jump on you. Although most of your time you might as well able to actually waste your shots if he managed to able to grow back up again, or in this case just, you know, just grow in a huge size again. And also this very annoying homing projectile that he loves to able to throw you off at points, but all in all though, it's not that major hardest boss fight in the game though, but that will be until for later on though, but then again we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. And now we move on to the, you know, the final phase of this fight, where basically he is now a lot more bigger, and, yeah, some people seem to say about the fact that this boss can be very tricky, especially because you might as well get hit loads of times on this fight. But, honestly, as long as you're able to actually keep on dodging his attacks, then you will be fine. So even then, note that takes care of Slime Time. So, onwards we go. So yeah, you get the idea for that little solution right there. So, I guess there's not much else I can really talk about this at this point, apart from the fact that I mentioned this before, that I've already got myself, you know, Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission recently on the Wii U eShop download. Although, originally I was supposed to able to go ahead and get myself the, WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania on the Wii U download, but unfortunately for me though, I don't have enough time for it, so even then, we're also able to actually utilize with the Metroid games instead, so even then though, just want to classify that. So anyways, now we're done with that, as I mentioned this before, now let's move on to the next level, as you can see right there, Owl's Toy Barn, which, fundamentally though, we need to go explore for the actual Owl's Toy Barn store. Now, originally I was supposed to able to save one level per video, but I figured that because of how the fact that we haven't done that much in terms of alleys and galleys, apart from, you know, 3 missions entirely, and that could be also same applies for Owl's Toy Barn, which I'll point things out until later on, because, well, we might as well able to find out whenever we're able to continue exploring for this kinds of stuff like this. So, anywho, oh man, the music is so good. It really does fit the atmosphere very, very well, especially because considering this usually calls it Owl's Toy Barn, because it takes place in somewhat of a cowboy kind of instrumental thing or something like that. But anyways, let's go ahead and just climb up to these ledges, and yeah, as you can see, Mr. Potato has now actually lost himself his arm, so we need to find his arm, so that way we can able to actually get ourselves a glorious next power-up. So even then, relatively speaking with the actual power-ups themselves, I think we are actually in the halfway point where it comes to getting every single power-ups in this game, because after we got the rest of the power-ups in this game, well, we can able to actually just to complete the actual game itself or something. So anyways, let's go ahead and climb up to this little cache point or something like that, or the actual the entrance or something like that. I know it's been such a long while since I actually managed to able to come back to this though, but anyway. So yes, to return the actual Mr. Potato Head's arm back, we actually get ourselves a speed booster, which kind of reminds me like the space booster from Super Metroid or something, where basically, if you manage to able to obtain the actual speed booster right here, it allows you to able to actually speed things up. However, though, it only works for about, I would say for about 3 seconds or something like that, which I'm fine with, because even then, the actual speed booster was awesome, especially when, if you really, trying to make the actual thing process a little bit faster, well, by all means to use that you can able to actually use that particular power-up as much as you want to. Unless, you remember New Forms of Andy's Neighborhood level, where basically in one of those missions that you have to do with the actual time challenge, where you have to able to race against with RC Car for the second time, where usually it's impossible for you for the first time around. Well, that was actually kind of a mandatory power-up if you really want to gather every single Pizza Planet token as possible, and then that way you can able to actually guarantee you can able to beat the RC car to the finish. So even then, though, it's a perfect way to able to noticing this. So anyways, though, so let's go ahead and grab ourselves the actual cheek, which used to be the actual, the 5 collectibles of this particular stage. And, unfortunately, though, just like the forms of how it does it on Ali's and Gullies level, is the fact that I really can't guarantee we can able to deal with the actual, little chickens, mission like this, because even then, once again, it needs to require a power-up, which, it'll happen until later on. And we need to do this part again, but this time we need to grab the token. And also, you remember the forms of when we actually did done this on the first attempt, where basically you have like more time? Whilst in the second attempt, however, though, you have less time, and because of this, though, you need to hurry things up, because if you don't make it there in time, well, basically, the actual Pizza Planet token will disappear, and you need to retry that particular challenge again. So, but if you're fast enough, though, already, like I just did right there, then you would get yourselves a nice little Pizza Planet token like anything else. So, there we go, then. So, apart from those side of things, though, is the fact that, to be honest with you, there's not much else I could really think of. Oh, yeah. That Sonic has actually mentioned about the forms of the My Little Pony, G4.5, and usually it's calls the actual, the show of the actual thing, which usually calls it My Little Pony, Pony Life, and I will say, is it just me, or is it kind of reminds me like Teen Titans Go vibe, which I will point things out right away for this point. That will be my main gripe with the forms of, the Pony Life TV show of the TV series coming up in 2020, and it appears to be some sort of like a similar fashion as the forms of how it does it on Teen Titans Go vibe, which even then I'm okay with the actual main cast of characters returning ever since in Friendship is Magic era, but what the hell happened to the forms of certain designs? Like, for instance, what happened to Rainbow Dash's mane, or even especially noticeable with just any other ponies in general, that just comes off as like a cheap... I understand it's more likely a cheapy style, but we'll point things out whenever we get to it later on. So anyways, here's the next boss here, which appears to be a dinosaur. Well, usually as far as you can tell, it's just a very standard sized dinosaur. So basically, in this entire battle can be summed up as like this. Every time when you try to shoot his lasers at him, or shoot Buzz's lasers at him, well, basically, he just stands in place, and if you go close to him, basically, the actual dinosaur will somehow create himself a flamethrower, which, either way, that was kind of weird at first, but hey, at least it doesn't matter to me, though. So, yeah, that usually just managed to represent that. So, oh yeah, because today's day is the forms of the 20th of November, right? Oh yeah, this means is the fact that the new Mario Kart Tour event is now usually starting until right about now. It appears to be some sort of like a winter tour, which actually represents Christmas events, which is pretty cool if you ask me, because even then, Christmas is almost getting close, and one of those tracks they're actually going to be included on that particular tour, which appears to be by the forms of DK Pass, which, it's about time, because, DK Pass will be a perfect fit when it comes to the forms of that specific tour, because, DK Pass was essentially the actual snow-based track, and I don't know about the rest of them though, such as the forms of Land or anything like that, but we'll find things out and join at some form or another, or even in this case, we'll let Sonic and Sylvester were able to point things out and during the actual discussions on the forms of, specifically Mario Kart 8 Let's Play department. So, but you get the drill for this point right there, especially because of how the fact that, that, as I mentioned this earlier ago, that those two almost pretty much going to be, towards the end of their Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch, and especially no support for the Wii U. But, you get the idea for that solution. So, and I think that last time we actually did download something on the Wii U, which is, of course, the Donkey Kong Country Trilogy, because of, since after all that, I believe Duffy has recently finished up with Donkey Kong Country 1 for this year, and then hopefully until next year, we're about to be doing Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest for the Super Nintendo, and then next thing knows is that until 2021, it will be, well, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. So even then, that will usually could be subbed up as like that, and that could be also the same, usually the same thing as the, in 2022, we might actually come across into ourselves Donkey Kong Country Returns, and then in 2023, well, usually it'll be Tropical Freeze at the end. Although, I don't really know for sure, because at the moment right now, is that most of the actual popular YouTubers out there seem to now able to actually quit some of the stuff during the actual years so far, which is kind of sad. Just because I do usually enjoy most of the actual Let's Play channels out there, such as the forms of, well, Kumbada by 456 I still enjoy, and as well as the forms of, I think Slim Kirby was actually still carry on doing the forms of several Let's Plays, although recently, he's now going to be doing his Let's Play of Pikmin 3 for the Wii U, which is pretty cool if you ask me, although despite the fact that I wasn't exactly a huge Pikmin master, because, well, I did manage to play those before, and I don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the series, but it's just that I'm just not a particularly master at it. So even then, though, because of that, though, you probably get the idea for that solution here. So, anyways, let's go ahead and shove this, this box over. And hopefully we need to get some more, coins to able to actually just, give Ham, once again, 50 coins to his disposal. And I think, fundamentally, though, is the fact that we have managed to done 3 objectives so far. So naturally, I think this will be the 4th one for now on. And then, as I mentioned this before, like the forms of alleys and gullies, that basically we'll have to able to actually wait until whenever we conclude this world, until whenever we find, I would say, the final power-up until at the very end of the game, though. Well, not now, though, per se, because, well, it's a little bit too early to discuss at this point. Because of that, though, I think we're actually on the halfway point of this game so far, because after all, that we're on the 7th level, because if you couldn't tell already, that this game actually contains, like, specifically, 15 levels. So I just want to point things out right away, and I'm almost going to be dying at some point, but before we're able to, get ourselves the 4th Pizza Planet token due to the forms of Ham's cash points, because I need to get myself the actual battery for health department. Well, not the actual batteries for my camera recording, but just the actual battery for Buzz's health. So, but luckily for me though, I did manage to find one of them, so hopefully we can able to survive all that stuff. Although, until whenever we're able to get back into alleys and galleys at one point though, well, we'll point that out whenever we do so until the future. But for now, let's go back into this room right here, and then we need to climb onto that chair, and then we can able to find Ham exactly the same location as we normally done the secret challenge right here. And, we get ourselves a glorious, nice Pizza Planet token from the bat. So, now let's go ahead and leave the level, although there's only one objective left, which appears to be collecting all 5 of those NPC items and stuff like that. And I think that's as far as I can think of. So, yeah, we almost pretty much gonna conclude, rather, of this particular level. But then again, until in the future, though, after we find the final power-up in the game, then we can able to go back into this level for the final time. But even then, though, that again, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. So, anyways, let's save our game here, and we actually got about, I would say, 22 Pizza Planet tokens, which that might be seems true. So, Anyway, so we're gonna have to end things off here, I'm afraid, guys. So join me next time on Let's Play Toy Story 2. Is the fact that we're gonna be taking on the Forms of Owl's Spaceland. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas.